Alright, so jQuery has some really useful and nice effects that we can use, and we can do some very basic animation as well. Alright, so we've taken a look at some of these, such as hide, show, toggle, but we're going to look at those and some additional ones, such as fade in, fade out, slide up, slide down, and also the animate action. Alright, so we have an index.html, we're including jQuery through the CDN. We have our document.ready down here, and what we're going to do is in the body, let's go ahead and create we'll create a paragraph. We'll give it a class of p1, and I'm just going to paste in some dummy text here. Okay, so just a simple paragraph, and then above it we're going to have some buttons. So I'm going to give this button an ID of btn hide. Okay, and then what I want to do is just be able to hide this paragraph. So down here we'll grab the button and we'll assign a click event to it. Okay, and then when that's clicked, we want to grab the p1 and we're going to call hide. Okay, now if I reload, we click that button, you'll see that it goes away. Alright, now it stays hidden, so what we could do is have another button for show, so this will be btn show, and what we'll do is just copy that, show p1.show. Okay, so now hide it, show it. Alright, now if we want to have this functionality with just one button, we can do that with toggle, which we've seen before. So we'll call this btn tog. Grab this. Toggle. Okay, so now we can just simply toggle with this one button. So we've seen all this stuff before. Now if we want to do something a little more slick than just simply hiding and showing, we can use fade. We can use a fade. So we have fade out, fade in, and fade toggle. So what I'm going to do is copy these three buttons, and we're going to change these. This one will be btn fade out. This one will be btn fade in, and then this one will be btn fade tog. And then let's copy these three events. We're going to change this to fade out, and then we're going to say p1 dot fade out. This one will be fade in. Right here, this will be fade in, and this one will be fade toggle. Alright, so let's go ahead and try these out. So if we click fade out, let's see, what did I do? btn fade out. Oh, this right here needs to be dot fade toggle. Alright, so let's reload and fade out, and you can see it's different than if we were to just hide. You can see it slowly fades out, and then we can fade it back in, and we can fade toggle. Now if you want to edit the speed of this, that's easy. We'll just go to fade out, and let's say 4,000, and what this is it's milliseconds. So 4,000 milliseconds is actually 4 seconds. So if we go and we click fade out, it's going to fade out within a 4-second time frame. Okay, let's make it 2 seconds, and let's do 2 for all of these. Okay, so fade out, 2 seconds, fade in, fade toggle. Alright, Now we can also use slide up and slide down, very similar. So let's copy these. Okay, so we're going to change this to btn slide up. This one will be btn slide down. And then this one will be btn slide tog, which will be slide toggle. Alright, and then down here I'm going to copy these last three, change this to slide up. The actual action is also slide up. And of course you can use the speed as well in here. You can edit the speed. Okay, and then this one will be slide tog and then slide toggle. Alright, so let's see what this does. If we say slide up, you'll see it slides up, slide down, and it's all within 2 seconds because that's what we specified. Alright, let's actually change it to 1. Alright. And then if we change it to nothing, if we don't add anything in, it goes like that. Okay, so those are the different effects we can use. Now we also have an action called stop, where we can actually stop it when it's in the process, when it's in the effect. So let's go ahead and add one more button to the end here, and I'm going to give it an ID of btn stop. Okay, and then down here let's add a click event for that. So in here, when we click stop, let's say .p1 .stop. Alright, so now let's say slide. When I say slide up, I'm going to go over and click stop when it's in the process of sliding. Actually, you know what? Let's make it a little longer so that we can actually see it. Okay, so slide up, see it's going, stop, and it stops it. And then when we click slide up, it'll actually continue from that spot. Alright. So now we're going to talk about animate. Alright, so I'm going to create up here under the paragraph, put some line breaks, and we're going to create a button. Let's give it an ID of anim. For the text, we'll say animate, and then we'll put some line breaks, and then a div, and let's give this a class of square. Okay, and then up here I'm going to put some style. Okay, so we want to grab that square class, and let's set a width of 100 pixels, a height of 100 pixels. We'll set the background to black, and let's make position relative. Okay, so now we should have a button, and we have this black square. Alright, so we want to add a click event to the anim button. So down here we're going to say ID anim, and we're going to use a click event here, pass in our function, and then we're going to grab that square class, dot square, and we're going to call dot animate. Okay, now in this animate, it's going to take in an object with some properties. So we're going to give it a left, and let's say 250 pixels. And let's also change the opacity, or the transparency of it. We're going to set that to 0.5. And then let's set the height. We're also going to make it bigger. So for height, let's say 200 pixels, and then width, we'll also say 200 pixels. Okay, so let's save that and see what happens. If I click animate, you'll see that it does all this stuff. It animates and it goes over 250 pixels, and in order for that to work, you have to make sure that its position is relative. Alright, because the default position is static, and that's not going to understand what this left means. So make sure it's relative, and then when we click it, it goes over 250 pixels. The opacity turns to 0.5, and then the height and width change to 200 pixels. Now notice if I click it again, it doesn't do anything, but what we can do is we can make it so that when we click it, it keeps going. So for the left, the position, what we can do is add plus equals. Okay, and then we also want to do down here in height plus equals. And I'm going to just make it 100 pixels because each time we click it, I want it to only increase 100 pixels. Okay, so if we reload, click it again, you'll see that it keeps going. Alright, so you can do it just once, or you can add the plus equals, and it'll allow you to keep doing it. Alright, now you can also change the speed. So if we add a parameter down here, and we say fast, you'll see that it goes faster. Alright, now we can also use what's called an animation queue, where we can kind of set up an instruction set for it to keep running and doing different things. So let me give you an example. I'm going to go up here and we're going to grab this button and also the div with the class of square. I'm going to copy it, paste that in, and let's change the ID here to anim2 and square2, and then these properties up here I also want for square2. Alright, so now we have another button and another box to work with. So what I want to do is go down here to the bottom, and we're going to grab that anim2. Oops. Okay, and we're going to add .click. And let's create a variable of div, and we're going to set it to that square2. Okay, and then down here we're going to say div.animate, and then we're going to pass in a couple things. We'll say height 400 pixels, opacity, we'll say 0.4. Alright, and then we can also set a speed, which I'm going to set to slow. Okay, and then what we can do is copy that, and I'm going to paste it in 3 more times, and we're just going to change the second one. I'm going to change this to 0.8 for the opacity, and then this third one I'm going to change to 100 pixels, and this one also to 100 pixels, and this will be 0.8. Alright, so let's see what that does for us. So if we reload and I click animate, alright, so that actually we want to change this to width and this to width. Okay, so let's try it again, and it does a cool little animation. It goes to 400 pixels high to 400 pixels wide to 100 pixels high and 100 pixels wide. Okay, so you can put whatever styles you want, and you can do as many animations as you want, all in this one event. Alright, so that's going to do it for our effects and basic animation. In the next video, we're going to talk a little bit about traversing and filtering with jQuery.